On a mission to destroy digital addiction, restore relationships, and prevent pornography, and live life fully, Techless and Wisephone creator and founder Chris Kaspar joins us. Good morning to you, sir.
Hey, good morning. So glad to be here. I'm excited to talk. Let's do it.
Praise be to God. You know, just yesterday, I usually have to take a nap every day because I'm up at 3 a.m. So by 2:30, I'm like nap central. And but I can't just nap. That would not be productive, right? So I nap while listening to things in my ear so that I can consume content while napping. That's how bad things are. And my wife was like, go ahead.
That's awesome. You're Superman. I'm impressed. I'm impressed. I wish I could do that. Mad skills.
But my wife was like, look at you. Look how bad this is. Like, you can't even put that thing down. And I think she's right. We are so addicted to these devices. They have made such an impact and inroad in our life that if we were to detox from them, it would probably take a week. What say you, Chris Kaspar?
Yeah, I think you nailed it. I mean, so we sell a phone that doesn't do any of that stuff, right? It calls, it texts, it has a few basic tools, clock, calculator, maps, camera. But here's the deal. I mean, you really hit the nail on the head. It takes about a week. When I switched to Wisephone for myself, my hand made this shape like a smartphone. I kept picking up my phone and looking at it for about a week. And then I realized, wait, I can't do anything on this thing. And it's a habit, man. It's real.
You know, I think that addiction thing is very real, the dopamine rush, the need to constantly be connected. So what started you down this road? Why did you feel the need to create a dumb phone that looks smart?
Yeah. So the story really began for me. My wife and I have done foster care. We've had probably 7 kids come and go in our house. And at one point we had 10 and 13-year-old girls. They were sisters. They were dropped off at our house. And, you know, we filled out the paperwork, the engine half stack, and the caseworker walked out the door and said, oh, wait, don't let these girls near anything that looks like a smartphone. And there's this critical moment where, you know, you want to impact, especially foster kids. Day one, you don't want to be the jerk that takes away all their freedoms. And they were used to smartphones, and we were stuck. Like, there were no good options on the market of something we could trust them with. And, you know, we found out Amazon Alexa was a good device because we could trust them with it. And it was built in at the device level. They couldn't do weird things other than listen to some rough music. And so we were like, okay, how can we take that principle of a error-proof device and apply it to smartphone? And so we just went out and made it because there was nothing like it at the time.
What is I want to ask so many questions, but one of the questions that come to my mind is, what does it cost to develop a phone? I mean, because I remember listening to your interview on Matt Fradd's Pints with Aquinas, and you were talking about how you ran into a wall with the Google Play Store. And how they didn't want to play with you anymore. And that sort of forced you to pivot and do the hard work of creating from the ground up.
At the end of the day, we actually had a philosophical disagreement with Google whether parents should have access to kids' messages or not. And they didn't like that. And they didn't want another company coming out. They believe kids have the right to privacy. And we believe if you love your kids, every now and then you check in on them. And so, yeah, we got booted from the Play Store for that reason. And we had to go and build our own platform, ground up distribution for apps and pushing updates in the whole 9 yards. And it wasn't easy. I mean, that was one of the hardest things we've done. I mean, and to answer your question, it's a $10 million project minimum type of thing. Now, we actually did it for a whole lot less because we are we're an early stage startup. We had some investors that believed in what we were doing, but it was not some simple, let's spin up an app, you know, and develop this thing and push it to the Play Store. We're doing platform level design here.
So being that you are somewhat disconnected from Google, and I imagine also the Apple Store, there's not really a big risk of having your privacy being, you know, stolen or monitored by these companies. Is that true with your phone?
Yeah. We went to great lengths to de-Google and de-Apple our phone. And that wasn't easy. I mean, above and beyond taking our tools off their servers and not using the Google Play Store as a distribution method, we took out everything. And we're using bits and pieces of Android, but we cut all ties with Google. And just to give you some context of how little we're communicating, this is just a real life statistic here. So our phone, the number one thing in your phone that uses battery life is your antenna, right? submitting data to the networks. Well, our battery, and I'm not going to, I mean, it will, my phone, I charge it every 4 days because it's sending, it's the same device as a phone that you have to charge every day, but it's just sending that much less data back and forth over the cellular network. And we just took out all the bloatware and all the garbage and all the stuff that tracks you, and it's gone.
Wow. So, that's insane considering I have to charge my phone like 3 times a day. Maybe that says more about me than anything else. But you know, it's interesting. I was listening to your interview with Matt Fradd. I highly recommend people check it out because it's like a 3-hour long conversation versus our 20-minute conversation. But Our Lady of Fatima, she appeared to the Shepherd Children in 1917 and to the Shepherd Children in Fatima, Portugal. These shepherd children have no access to television. Their phones didn't exist, 1917. And she appears to them, and Our Lady tells Sister Lucia she can't make that Our Lady that she cannot make people good. They must themselves want to be good. And Jacinta reminds her of something that Our Lady had said and says the sins which cause most souls to go to hell are sins of the flesh, sins against chastity. And that was in 1917, whenever we didn't have smartphones in our pockets, where Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Facebook, and all these things are showing us these pornographic images constantly. Even if you're not watching pornography, you're being exposed to pornographic images constantly in every single thing you're doing. Could you speak a little bit about that issue? I know that's a huge concern for many parents when thinking about their future phones, or even the parents themselves.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, what we're trying to do is create peace for people. And part of that involves just turning off the struggle that hits you between the eyes every single day, whether that is explicit images. I mean, everything we've built has been from the ground up, and it's porn free. And there's other things that we want to release, but we're not going to release them yet because we aren't 99.99% sure that they're safe here. And we just want to, you know, go fight that struggle, go build up discipline or whatever it takes to hit the world head on, but just don't fight that in your pocket every day, 24/7. It's one less thing to have to worry about.
You know, you said you were going to release things. I wondered if that's a slippery slope too. Are you tempted as a tech company to begin to add stuff? And like, at what point does that become counter to the mission that you set off on?
Yeah. No, it is a slippery. It's absolutely a slippery slope. And I mean, I had a conversation with the guy that created the Apple mouse a couple weeks ago. Okay. And this dude's brilliant. He was the president of EA Sports or something like, I don't know his official title there, but I was talking about this. I was like, hey, could we release the Techless Tool Store and start having third-party apps? And he started groaning because he knows what Pandora's box of consumer expectations there are, what's okay and what's not. And really what we have is we've created a set of sort of design principles, and they're very countercultural. They're very not Apple, not Google, and 6 or so design principles that we are irrefutable that guide what we release. And one of those things is what deepens relationships. That's probably the most important one. What deepens our relationship with one another and with God. And if it doesn't do that, then we're not going to put it on the phone. And that's that's very abstract. But we start filtering everything through those principles, and it makes the questions a lot easier.
Let me ask you a question. Why should I purchase your phone when I could simply dumb down my smartphone, my very expensive, beautiful, incredibly capable? Why shouldn't I just dumb this thing down? Why do I purchase your product?
Yeah. I mean, so I consider my two competitors a flip phone and a smartphone, and there's really an answer to both of those.
Flip phones are still a thing?
Dummy. Yeah, and I mean, I'll just go ahead and say that flip phone, real quick. People think it's safe. It's actually the worst of the devices. Okay?
Really?
So there are no restrictions on flip phones whatsoever, and they have full access to everything. So flip phones are really pretty toxic. Okay?
My mind is blown.
Yeah, and they're a pain to use. Okay, so now back to your smartphone question here. I mean, the answer is you could lock down your smartphone. Mm-hmm. And how many times have you deleted an app only to put it back on? Or how many times have you, I mean, it's just this game that you play constantly.
4 or 5 dozen times
a day.
Exactly. Yeah. So I mean, it really, at the end of the day, again, you have so much capacity mentally in a day to make decisions. And this instant. It's why Steve Jobs wore a black shirt every day. He didn't have to make that choice. And so if you want to go do something productive, it's not that hard to physically walk to a computer, open it up, and do it. I mean, I'm the CEO of Techless, and that's how I operate. And so it forces you to be lightly intentional with your time. I want to hop into work mode, boom, I open up my laptop, I'm ready to go. And so there's this habit or these exercises that create healthy rhythms within yourself. And so it's really just a commitment to living a slightly more healthier life at the cost of little bits of convenience. And so there's a reality of you're letting go of some things, but at the end of the day, it's a better choice.
You know, I'm shocked by what you said about the flip phone.
I am too.
Because one of my good friends of mine, the TFP, a lot of them have completely abandoned smartphones. The vast majority of the TFP members have abandoned smartphones. They're all use dumb phones. They use flip phones mostly. And I tell you what, when I'm with them and I'm trying to text, send a message to them, it's a pain in the rear. They sit there like, hold on, I got to respond to this text. And about 20 minutes later, like, okay, I'm done. It was 2 sentences long, so we're done. We've lost the whole day already. But yeah, so that's very interesting. But, you know, to pivot just a little bit, in your conversation with Matt Fradd, you had asked him a question about tech use in the church. And I thought that was a very interesting question. I started pondering that because, I mean, the church has been around for 2,000 years. We've seen technology rise and fall, things come in, things go away, and it changes things constantly. And I was thinking specifically about the use in the mass, because we have microphones, we have lights, these kind of things that didn't exist before. And I was thinking about the old style of preaching was lost because of microphones and these kind of things. So I wanted to open up the conversation to a more of a broad topic of tech use overall and not just our phones. Because of this kind of thing, I was thinking, there used to be this old preaching style where you would preach from the pulpit and people all the way in the back of the church could hear. And everyone here in the studio goes to the traditional Latin Mass. And it is very common in the traditional Latin Mass that they get rid of the microphones. There's no amplification of the sounds. The priest is facing the altar. He's saying the prayers quietly. He's saying whenever things need to be heard, he speaks up. He speaks louder. These kind of small things that kind of create a techless worship, which was very jarring to me when I first started attending, but I came to love it because it was eternal. It was something that was not, you're stuck in the 21st century. It's something that connects you through the past, liturgy of the past. What say you about the whole technology just involved in worship and church and society, how much we've changed?
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, a couple things. One, if you look at the way Jesus communicated with the world, he didn't use the technology of the day. He didn't even use the written medium. Everything that he did, his medium was the air between him and other people. And that was it. And he changed the world. And so I've kind of become more at peace with the idea of just doing this simple type gathering, it's a different mechanism here. And so I believe you can change the world and change yourself through that. And then secondly, I mean, you've seen just as time has gone on, we've shifted to a more digital world, less material world. And I think that with that, there's an erosion of relationship. And, even think about a mass size, for example. Without microphones, there's only so many people you can have attend that, versus you have a larger one with microphones, and now you can do it remotely or distance, and that distance just creates some semblance of disconnect between people and communities as opposed to coming together. How about you used to have to walk to mass? That was it. Or maybe take a horse. And now you could drive 60 miles if you want, no big deal. All of these things kind of feed into this erosion, I guess. And these are just I'm thinking out loud here. So I'd love to hear some more of your perspective on it. But technology definitely has changed the way we've done church.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, I wish I could walk to mass. That would be fantastic. We have to drive quite a bit to get to the mass. But, I'm wondering if you could speak on this particular idea. People like to be connected. I think many of the reasons why people get smartphones are to send photos, for example, or join a social media platform. It's to connect with people, and very easily this social media or even your smartphone can become something disordered in the way that you connect with people. I'm wondering how do people continue to stay connected with something like a dumb phone? Like, for example, with your phone, are you able to send and receive messages And what about group text, for example? That would be something that would be important to me, to be in contact with my friends.
Yeah. So I completely agree. There's importance in being connection. I think there is my only hesitation just with that word in general is it's been skewed. Something negative has been skewed to be something positive. So we have this craving to connect with people that we will never actually have meaningful relationship with. We want to reach out and connect with this celebrity that has 10,000, 10 million followers, and we're pouring our life energy into this meaningless relationship in a sense. So I mean, I'm always trying to, everything I'm designing is trying to connect people with the meaningful relationships, the people that we do interact with in person, the family, those very, very close folks. And then regarding group messaging and everything like that, we use group messaging in a way that Android would similarly. So there are some Apple Android idiosyncrasies that are just universal to all Android devices, and we have those same idiosyncrasies, but we allow that.
Let's talk about cost. What does your device cost? How do people I can go to an AT&T store, for instance, or T-Mobile, whatever, to get my device. How do they get your device? What are the costs? What are the carriers? Tell me about that.
Yeah, so the only way you can buy Wisephone at this time is to go to techlist.com and grab it from our website. It's $399. It is a one-time upfront charge, which is actually an anomaly in the world. Most of the time, people sell their phones at a loss, and then they nickel and dime you afterwards by selling a carrier plan, or they often, the bloatware I'm talking about, they actually sell that data. And we don't do any of that. So, no ads. That's kind of the game. And as far as carriers are concerned, we are compatible with all major carriers. And so we're specifically focused on the US market. We're testing international as we speak, but that's who we're officially supporting at this time. So AT&T, Verizon, T-Mobile.
So is the process that we would buy the phone from techlist.com, you would send it to us, and then we take it to a carrier to get the service?
Yeah, you can buy the phone, and the day you get it, you can put in your SIM card from your current phone and pop it in this phone, and it works. So it's a pretty straightforward process. So you don't have to change your number or anything.
Well, that's pretty slick, actually. If you wanted to use both, we have to use ours for work. I mean, I'm using this device all the time, but if I wanted to put myself in timeout, I could take my SIM card out, throw it into a Techless, and then I wouldn't have access to any of those apps, right?
Yeah, totally. And actually, I travel quite a bit internationally. And when I do, I pop my SIM card out of my Wisephone and I'll put it in my iPhone every now and then. Not all the time, but just if I feel like I really need to be connected or I want that contingency, I'll do that. So
wow. Now, I have a deep need for 8K video in 120 frames per second at 10-bit 422 color science. Your camera does that, right?
I won't I won't claim that our camera's like a 10 out of 10. So if you're really going for video, stick with your iPhone. I'll just say that.
That's honest.
It's not bad. It's not bad, but that's not really what we're selling here. Our goal is to just capture memories. We're not making heavy production value stuff. So
yeah. Do you feel like, is that part of the slippery slope? Is that part of where you're tempted, oh man, to compete with the Joneses here, I have to come up with a better camera every time? Because it's like iPhone's thing, right? Is new camera systems all the time.
Yeah. So I think so. If you listen to Apple, every time they come up with a new product release, it's always more, bigger, awesomer, cooler. Exactly. And just even just the visuals, everything grows in their visuals if you watch their presentation, and that's not the game we're playing. And so the hardware we're using, anything we find that's being produced in today's modern market is sufficient, and it's great. So we really don't have to play that game. The hardware is not broken. It's really the software that's philosophically just hurting us. And so that's what we're going after here.
Got it. So the Techless is really not for, it's just a complete change from the lifestyle that we've been used to with smartphones. So we shouldn't even think of them as related in that way. How long does it take? If one purchases one, what is the turnaround time? Are you having supply chain issues, that kind of thing? Where are your devices manufactured?
Yeah, so I would argue to say that 99.8% of devices in the U.S. are made in China. So there's just no way around that right now, but we have them in stock. We're actually working on a really big software release currently. And for that reason, we are holding off shipping for a few more weeks. So if you order now, it'll be a few more weeks, but typically you place an order, comes out the next day, and it will take you 3 days to get your phone, and we're ready to go.
All right. Techless.com is the website, techless.com. Chris Kaspar, thank you for your time today. We're very appreciative. God bless you. God love you. Have a great day.
Awesome. Thanks so much. Bye.
All right. That is going to do it for hour number 1 of Catholic Drive Time.